You ever watched a man disappear while still being there? He's the one always showing up, carrying bags, fixing things, nodding along in silence. He's learned how to stay present, but not how to stay powerful. He thinks love is endurance. He thinks being available is maturity. He thinks pleasing her will keep her close. But behind her eyes, the light is gone. Not because he failed, but because he faded. He stopped being the fire she first met, not loud, not forceful, just undeniable, and slowly, without knowing, he became background noise in his own life. The tragedy, he volunteered for it, thinking this was the cost of being a good man. But let me tell you something most men never hear. She didn't betray you. You betrayed yourself by believing her words over her energy. You listened to what she said, but you forgot to feel what she responded to. You thought the more open, soft, and available you were, the more she'd feel safe. But safety without strength doesn't create attraction. It creates boredom. You didn't do anything wrong. You did everything the world told you was right. But the world lied, not because it's evil, but because it's unconscious. Because it forgot what real masculine energy is. Because it taught you to become a product, not a presence. Let me say this clearly. She doesn't want your compliance. She wants your gravity. She doesn't crave emotional performance. She longs for emotional stability. She isn't confused. Her biology is simply stronger than her language. She'll tell you she wants softness, but she dries up when that softness comes without direction. She'll say, I just want someone who listens, but her soul is starving for someone who leads. You've probably heard it 1,000 times. Be emotionally available. Show your feelings. Be a safe space. And you did. You gave more. You revealed more. You tried harder. And slowly, you vanished. Because what truly draws her in isn't how much you open up. It's how deeply you are rooted in who you are. If you become predictable, if you are always explaining yourself, if you abandon your edges to fit into her comfort zone, she won't leave you in anger, she'll leave you in silence. And that silence is sacred. Not as punishment, but as a wake-up call. Because the version of you she admired, the version she felt in her body, wasn't the one trying to win her. It was the one already whole before she ever arrived. That's what she responded to. Not your effort, not your performance, but your energy. The man who didn't need her validation but invited her into his field. That's when she glowed. That's when she smiled without reason. That's when her nervous system said yes before her mind could speak. And when that presence disappeared, she followed. Not because she stopped loving you, but because her body no longer felt safe to surrender. You thought your consistency was the answer. You thought being emotionally available meant pouring out your soul, opening the floodgates of every insecurity, fear, and trauma, thinking she would hold it with care. But what she really needed was your emotional leadership, not your emotional leakage. She didn't need your diary, she needed your direction, and no one told you that. Because we were all taught backwards. We were told that love is about showing everything. But in reality, what creates polarity is not exposure, but containment. You mistook openness for intimacy. You mistook honesty for attraction, and you didn't see what was happening underneath. Every time you unraveled in front of her, every time you begged for reassurance, every time you made her comfort your compass, you gave away something sacred, not your love, your gravity. The deeper truth, she doesn't want to be your therapist. She wants to feel your presence so strongly that her own nervous system resets just by being near you, and when that presence fades, she won't argue, she won't fight, she'll simply drift. While you keep trying harder, still believing love is earned through sacrifice. But this isn't about sacrifice, it's about essence. You were taught that giving more makes you a better man. But giving without embodiment makes you forgettable. And she doesn't want to forget you. She wants to orbit you. She wants to feel your edge. Not because she's unstable, but because her feminine core is wired to test for strength, not to hurt you, but to confirm, can I trust this man when the world falls apart? If the answer is no, she won't stay. Not because she's ungrateful, but because her body refuses to open where there is no solid ground to surrender into. This is not judgment, this is nature. And if you keep resisting nature, you'll keep ending up confused, heartbroken, and questioning your worth. Not because you're broken, but because you're using the wrong map. This world has fed men a lie so deep that most don't wake up until the damage is done. The lie that being sensitive, soft, and always accommodating is what makes a man good. But a good man isn't one who disappears into her needs. A good man is one who knows his path and doesn't abandon it just because she feels temporarily off balance. She doesn't want you to fix her chaos. She wants to know your fire won't go out in the storm. And here's the part that most men miss. When she pulls away, it's not always a punishment. It's a test of your center. She wants to know, can he hold himself even when I don't validate him? Because if you need her approval to feel strong, then your strength isn't real, it's borrowed, and no woman can relax into borrowed masculinity. So when she says, I don't know what happened, what she's really saying is, I can't feel your edge anymore. She might say she wants you to open up, but what she means is, she wants to feel your emotional depth, not your emotional collapse. There's a difference. She wants to feel your truth, but only if it's grounded. She wants to see your tears, but only if they don't shake your spine. She wants your heart, but only if it's coming from a man who could walk away at any moment and chooses to stay with power, not need. This is the magnetic paradox of real masculine energy. It doesn't chase, it doesn't explain itself, it doesn't fold to win love. It simply is. Rooted, still, undeniable. You don't become that man through strategies, you become him through reclamation. Reclaiming your solitude, reclaiming your self-respect, reclaiming the fire in your gut that says, I don't bend for love. I stand in it. And the moment you do, she feels it. Her body knows before her mind does. The glow comes back. The silence breaks. The spark returns. Not because you begged, not because you over-explained, but because you finally remembered who you are. Let's go deeper. If you've ever wondered why women say one thing and respond to another, it's because their instincts outrank their intellect. Not because they're broken, because they're designed that way. This isn't about logic, it's about energetic truth. The feminine body is a tuning fork. It doesn't calculate attraction. It feels it. So when you show up soft, sweet, emotionally available, and full of effort, you might win her mind. But her body won't light up, because the body doesn't respond to effort. It responds to essence, and essence is either there or it's not. She doesn't want you to open up so she can mother your pain. She wants to witness your soul without you needing her to fix it. She doesn't want your emotional breakdown. She wants to see if you can hold your flame, even when it flickers, and when you can't. When you hand her your crown in the name of being vulnerable, you don't become closer, you become invisible. Not because she's cruel, but because she's wired for polarity, not performance. That's why she's drawn to the man who seems like he doesn't need her. Not because she wants to be rejected, but because deep down she wants to know this. Will he remain who he is, even in the presence of my storm? If the answer is no, she can't trust you. She may not even know why she pulls away, but her body knows, and that knowing is ancient. Her womb doesn't care about your plans. Her instincts don't read your texts. She doesn't fall for your checklist. She falls for your field. And if your field is filled with apology, self-abandonment, or begging for validation, that's not a field she can rest in. That's a field she walks through, on her way to somewhere stronger. You may call that unfair, but life isn't fair. It's energetic. And if you want real union, you have to stop relating through the wounded child and start showing up as the sovereign man. The sovereign man doesn't chase, he chooses, he doesn't explain, he embodies. He doesn't try to impress her. He focuses on expressing his essence. He is the storm's eye, not its passenger. And this is where so many men lose the plot. They confuse rejection with personal failure, but often rejection is just the echo of your own disconnection. You didn't lose her because you were too loving. You lost her because you traded your spine for approval. Love without boundaries is not devotion, it's self-erasure. And no woman wants to merge with a man who doesn't know where his center is. So when you softened into passivity, when you explained your soul instead of embodying it, when you tried to be the man she said she wanted, you stopped being the man she could feel. Because her nervous system is a lie detector, and if your presence is performative, apologetic, or people-pleasing, she won't say it, but she'll feel it. And once that feeling is gone, so is the attraction. Not because she's shallow, but because attraction is a sensation, not a negotiation. And here's where it gets brutally honest. She didn't leave because you weren't good. She left because you weren't dangerous in the right way. You lost the tension. You lost the edge. You became predictable. And predictable love isn't love. It's management. She wants a man whose presence realigns her, not a man whose neediness depends on her moods. You want to be that man? Then stop studying her. Start studying you. Stop trying to read her emotions. Start mastering your own. Because the man who knows himself is the only man she can fully trust. Not with her mind, but with her body. And that's the kind of trust that doesn't need promises. It just is. So let's land this with clarity. If you're still waiting for her to come back, still hoping she'll finally recognize your worth, still trying to decode her silence like a puzzle, you're playing the wrong game. Because once the polarity collapses, it doesn't matter how hard you try. Desire doesn't obey logic. It doesn't respond to nice. It responds to magnetism. And magnetism only lives in men who've stopped performing. The truth? You were never supposed to convince her. You were supposed to become undeniable. And that doesn't happen by texting more, buying more, or proving anything. It happens in your absence. Not the kind of absence that sulks, ghosts, or punishes. That's still reaction. I'm talking about the solar absence, the one that occurs when a man finally returns to his throne. No more chasing, no more waiting, no more bending to be chosen by someone who doesn't even know what they're choosing. Because the moment you choose yourself, fully, unapologetically, completely, the entire field rearranges. And now, if she does return, she's not meeting the same version of you. She's meeting a man who no longer needs her approval, a man who doesn't need to explain his value, a man who became the answer by no longer needing her questions. And that, right there, is what she was actually craving all along. She never wanted your perfection. She wanted your presence. She never needed your performance. She needed your polarity. But here's the solar truth most men are too scared to face. You became forgettable the moment you stopped being undeniable. And that happened the moment you gave your center away. In the name of love, in the name of empathy, in the name of trying to be the safe man. But safety without substance is just another word for spiritual invisibility. So what do you do now? You reclaim yourself. You stop chasing her emotions and start commanding your own energy. You stop interpreting her confusion as rejection and start seeing it for what it really is. An opportunity to deepen your clarity. Because she's not confused. You were the one who forgot that desire lives in contrast, that mystery feeds attraction, that the man she respects the most is the one who never needed her to choose him. And once you lock that in, everything changes. You stop asking what does she want and start living what you came here to build. You stop trying to manage her moods and start leading yourself through every season like the sun. You become solar, untouchable, undeniable, unmoved by approval, and yet fully open to love that meets you in wholeness. This is not about turning cold. This is about becoming true. Because the truth is, most women don't leave men they can feel. They leave the ones who stop carrying their own frequency, so carry it, sharpen your edges, sit in your solitude, rebuild your mission. And if she ever circles back, great. But even if she doesn't, you still won. Because the goal was never to win her back. The goal was to never lose yourself again. So if you've been abandoned, ghosted, overlooked, or rejected, not for being bad, but for being too available, this is your initiation. Not into more performance, but into stillness. Not into fixing, but into leading. Not into proving, but into remembering. You are not here to explain your soul, you're here to express it, fully, without apology, without a script, without waiting for someone else's recognition to remind you of your worth. Let your stillness speak. Let your fire whisper. Let your presence command the field without needing a word. Because in the end, she'll either rise to meet you, or she'll fall away trying to test you. And either way, you remain seated on your throne. If this transmission reached something deep in you, if it cracked open a truth you always felt but never had the words for, then don't keep this to yourself. Like, share, and most of all, subscribe to this channel if you're ready to walk the solar path of clarity, depth, and presence. This is not a performance, this is a remembrance, and your throne is not lost, it's waiting. See you in the next scroll.